For years, audiences around the world believed they knew Darci Lynne Farmer, the bright-eyed ventriloquist prodigy whose voice could move mountains without ever parting her lips. She was the girl who made America's Got Talent history, the young sensation who seemed born for the spotlight. But behind the charming puppets, the confetti, and the stage lights, there was a secret that shaped everything. It wasn't fame that defined her story. It was fear, quiet, consuming, invisible. A fear so powerful that it nearly kept her gift locked away forever. Long before the world saw her under the golden haze of television lights, Darci Lynne Farmer was a small-town girl in Oklahoma City, born on October 12, 2004. Her childhood was warm and simple, marked by family, faith, and the unshakable quietness that made her both mysterious and misunderstood. Her parents described her as sweet and imaginative, but there was always a hesitance, a wall between her and the outside world. Speaking aloud in class filled her with dread. Performing in front of others was unthinkable. Yet inside that silence was a storm of creativity. She loved music, rhythm, and the feeling of words vibrating in her chest. But when it came to letting those words escape, something always caught her throat. For a long time, her voice existed only within the walls of her bedroom. Then, one night, she watched a television performance by Terry Fader, the world-renowned ventriloquist who had once won the same show that would later change her own life. His act fascinated her, not just the comedy or the singing, but the strange safety of it. He spoke through another face, another character, and somehow that made everything feel possible. She found a puppet, a friend she could trust. Her first character wasn't just a prop, it was her armor. The puppet allowed her to transfer her anxiety outward, to speak through fabric and foam what she couldn't yet speak as herself. It was a form of therapy that no one had prescribed but somehow worked. The voice that had been locked away finally had a doorway. At first, she practiced quietly in her room, studying the mechanics, the tongue's position, the control of breath, the subtle tension in the jaw. She trained with the same discipline she once used for gymnastics, spending 30 hours a week perfecting movement and control. Now, that precision redirected itself toward voice. Within 2 weeks, she entered a small-town talent show. Her hands shook, but when the puppet spoke, something extraordinary happened. The fear disappeared. The puppet became her courage. By 2016, Darci had already been honing her skill for nearly 2 years. She appeared on Little Big Shots, a show that gave her a taste of national attention. The stage lights no longer terrified her, they fueled her. Yet nothing could have prepared her for what came next. In 2017, at only 12 years old, Darci Lynne Farmer stepped onto the stage of America's Got Talent. She carried with her a white rabbit puppet named Petunia. The audience laughed when they saw her, small, soft-spoken, seemingly fragile. But when she began to sing through Petunia, the laughter turned to disbelief. Her voice was powerful, rich, and impossibly steady. The judges stared in awe. Mel B rose to her feet and hit the golden buzzer. In that instant, gold confetti rained from above, and millions of viewers witnessed what would become one of the most iconic moments in the show's history. Darci had done the unthinkable. She had conquered her fear by disguising it as performance. Through the following weeks, she continued to astound audiences. Each performance showed more range, more confidence, more ownership of the stage. Her final duet featuring Petunia and Oscar earned her the most votes in the history of AGT. She became the youngest contestant ever to win the show. But behind the cheers and celebration, the quiet Oklahoma girl still lived inside her. The fame that came overnight was both a dream and a test. The world knew her as the smiling prodigy with talking puppets. Few knew the pressure that came with it. The expectations, the interviews, the long days where exhaustion and anxiety would creep back in once the stage lights dimmed. Darci Lynne's win on America's Got Talent wasn't just a moment of glory, it was the start of an empire. By 2018, she launched her first headlining national tour. Tickets sold out in 6 minutes. More shows were added, and they sold out too. Families drove for hours just to see her perform live. Her shows had the energy of a concert and the intimacy of a conversation. She was not just an entertainer, but a brand. Every puppet she created, Petunia, Oscar, Edna Doorknocker, and Ivan became a part of her identity. Children adored her, parents respected her, and the industry took notice. She returned to AGT several times as a guest performer and later, in 2024, competed in America's Got Talent Fantasy League. This time, she was no longer the shy kid behind a puppet. She strummed a guitar on stage while Petunia sang beside her. It was a subtle but powerful message. She was growing up, and her act was evolving with her. Though she didn't win, her semi-final run revitalized her public image. It proved that Darci wasn't just surviving as a child star, she was thriving as a young adult artist. Her partnership with NBC led to her own holiday special, Darci Lynne, My Hometown Christmas. It showcased not just her ventriloquism, but her raw singing ability. She stood on stage without a puppet, vulnerable and exposed, proving that her voice, her real voice, was enough. Darci Lynne Farmer's evolution didn't stop at ventriloquism. She eventually stepped into acting, landing a role in Reagan, a biographical film about the US president. For a girl who once feared speaking in front of others, seeing her face on movie screens around the world marked a powerful transformation. But with fame came whispers, rumors of a tragic past or a hidden illness. The truth, however, was far simpler and far more human. Her biggest challenge wasn't scandal or sickness, it was anxiety, magnified by sudden fame. For someone who once struggled to speak in class, the weight of constant attention at just 12 years old was overwhelming. Every interview, every camera flash carried pressure. She had to learn not just to perform, but to exist in public. That kind of adaptation takes immense strength. Yet Darci never treated her struggle as a weakness. She spoke about her anxiety with honesty, turning vulnerability into quiet strength. Her openness connected deeply with fans, especially young people facing their own battles with fear and self-doubt. In a world that glorifies perfection, Darci reminded everyone that even the brightest smiles can carry invisible struggles. By 2025, Darci had built something remarkable, a multi-million-dollar career driven by discipline and strategy. Her estimated net worth ranged between $5 and $6 million, but the real success came from her persistence. Since 2018, her live tours had been the foundation of her income, with sold-out theaters across the US and corporate appearances earning her between $75,000 to $150,000 per show. Her original $1 million AGT prize became the seed for a business that grew steadily for nearly a decade. Online, Darci cultivated a massive following, over 1.2 million YouTube subscribers and 8 million fans across social media. Yet, she didn't rely on ads or viral trends. Instead, she used her platforms to connect, to share, and to keep her story alive. Through focus, humility, and authenticity, Darci Lynne Farmer proved that true success isn't about fame. It's about growth, resilience, and the courage to keep evolving. In her personal life, Darci has found balance and warmth through her relationship with Kendon Reed, who has quietly become an important part of her journey. The two went public in May 2024, sharing a few genuine moments together online. Kendon, a Tuttle High School valedictorian from the class of 2023, is known for both his academic excellence and his athletic skills in basketball and baseball. He's currently attending the University of Oklahoma, working toward graduation in 2027. Despite Darci's fame, their relationship remains simple and grounded, rooted in shared values and small-town upbringing. Kendon's calm, steady nature provides her with peace, a reminder that real love doesn't need attention to be meaningful. By 2025, Darci was no longer just the young ventriloquist who won America's Got Talent. She had grown into a confident 20-year-old artist, exploring new creative directions. Her performances continued to fill venues, but her ambitions extended beyond ventriloquism. She began writing and releasing original songs like Hold Me and Push Our Luck, both carrying the emotional honesty of her own journey, hopeful, vulnerable, and searching for meaning beyond the applause. Her tour schedule stretched well into 2026, with major stops at venues including the Grand Ole Opry House in Nashville for the Opry's 100th birthday bash, a moment that placed her alongside some of the country's most respected entertainers. From Oklahoma to Tennessee and Wisconsin, her shows reflected not just popularity but the loyalty of fans who had grown with her. Through it all, Darci remained grounded, staying close to her Oklahoma roots and guarding her personal boundaries. Her story isn't one of overnight magic, but of transformation. A girl who learned to speak by giving her voice to her puppets, only to realize her own voice was stronger than she ever knew.